again, I'm giving you a reason to hate me, as if I haven't given you reasons so far. But we're back again. Hopefully that wasn't true, but I know it's there is something there. But so yeah, I'm back to kind of present to you something interesting. And always we present something interesting, but this time we're going to present to you texts that are external texts that are written with the same script as the middle text of the Rosetta Stone that we claim that was written in ancient Macedonian language, closer to the modern Slavian language than to any other language out there. So this could be a turning point if you are true to yourself. The turning point for Champollion was that he actually started reading other texts than the one on the middle text on the Rosetta Stone, meaning he didn't read just the hieroglyphs that were present on the stone, but after he got kind of into it and learned how to read those hieroglyphs, he went on and read different things. And kind of like the turning point from what I've researched was that he actually after he read one of the canopus stones, I believe they also have hieroglyphs if I'm not mistaken, but I may be wrong. But when he started generally reading different texts, like external texts within meaning, so that's when everybody kind of like got the attention, Now, if we do the same, I'm just saying. So before all of that, there have been some things that were going on. Well, I know in the world are going on bad things every day, man, and that's just sad to kind of witness nowadays. I guess we're living in a more connected world where news are served to you instantly, and so there's no kind of getting away from bad news, but you just gotta filter things out. But sometimes it's not good to filter things out, to distance yourself from some bad things, so that you can kind of be concurrent with world events and kind of form your opinion, have time to think about it and form your opinion. So I don't want to get into like everybody else does. Oh yeah, what happened to Charlie Kirk is bad, and it is bad. It's really bad, man, for everybody. And me as a Christian, it's not that bad for Charlie now, because even if God asked him to choose whether he would want to come back or not, he would say no, because he's in a blissful state, brothers and sisters, I'll tell you that. But it's more to kind of send prayers for his family, for his little kids, it's really tough, man. So I want to ask you something before we get into what we're going to get into. I want to ask you to do something radical, okay? In this world, I want to ask you to pray with me now. So let's first do that before we enter into any kind of fights between us, like who was what, when was, what, and whether I'm true, whether I'm, valid or not. But before all that, let's kind of fix our spirits, you know what I mean? So if you can join me, let's bow our head real quickly. So dear God, dear Jesus, we praise you, Father. We are sinful and we sin every day, Lord. Please give us your Holy Spirit daily. Fill us with your Holy Spirit daily, Father, so that we can be molded more into like your Son, Jesus. We love you. We earn to love you more. Thank you for waking us up every day. Thank you for giving us your breath of life every day. We pray for hearts to be changed. We pray for openness of hearts to accept different ideas. And I personally pray for everyone that's watching this video, for him and their families to be safe. Stretch out your hand, Father, and protect them, their enemies, and their friends, and themselves. Greek, Albanian, Bulgarian, Serbian, or whatever. Please, Father, the ultimate goal is for them to know you. Don't let them leave this world without knowing you, Jesus. There's no other name given under men for that man can be saved. So, Father, thank you again. Please open our hearts to understand better what we're doing, and for me personally, give me the strength, the wisdom to speak only the truth for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. If you join me, thank you. God loves that. So yeah, without further ado, let's continue, because boy do I have a treat for you. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to present to you certain number of texts that are found elsewhere, not just on the middle text of the Rosetta Stone, that we can read with the method of deciphering and reading presented by our two Macedonian academics that claim that they deciphered the middle text of the Rosetta Stone as ancient Macedonian Slavian language. So, but I'm going to do this in a certain way. I've been researching this past couple of days about the Oriental Institute to find a certain video where they're actually giving us some methods of deciphering and methods of what they've discovered, of methods of reading the hieroglyphs and other texts that are actually equivalent with the method that we are actually presenting here. But I'm not there yet. I can't really pinpoint the actual place where I found that. Like, that was years ago. So I'm in the meantime, I found something else, and I'll link that video from where I found these claims from the Oriental Institute. And so I'm going to present to you our Macedonian texts that are found on wall churches, on artifacts that are found in Macedonia and are presented in the museum in Skopje, Macedonia, and also a certain geoglyph in St. Nicholas in Macedonia. It's a small town near Bilazora in Macedonia. But I'm going to present them to you in a way where I'm I will be paralleling whatever the Oriental Institute says about their methods, so that you can see that what we're doing here is nothing out of the ordinary. It's everything within the mainstream. It's just the implications of what we've discovered are really huge. And that should bring us closer. Because if we know now the truth, let's work around the truth. And let's just bring it closer, and let's form, using philosophy of science, let's get to the best possible solution for our peoples. Not to murder each other, you know what I mean? But to bring them closer. Because I'm sure we can find more things that kind of connects us, that will bring us closer, than that will kind of, make us destroy each other. I think there's enough of that in the world, but you have your own opinion, I guess. All right, so let's start with the claim that, hold on, let me do this for you really quickly. Okay, so we have a claim from the Oriental Institute that the old Egyptian is still present in the New Kingdom period, because texts were copied, right? And so there were people that were talking, they were still speaking the language and still knowing the old hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Hence, we still have the same script on church walls in Republic of Macedonia today. That church is actually located in the city of Ohrid, right where the Ohrid Lake is, in the south. And I believe, don't take this for granted, but I think it's from the 13th century, that church is. Now, it is a church dedicated to Virgin Mary in Ohrid that has an inscription in our ancient Macedonian script found in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone. With identical context, the text on the church wall has the identical context as the devotion of the church, which is the devotion to Virgin Mary. Okay, so let's get into that. Now, before we get into that, I want to prove something to you, that writing on church walls, something like this, right here and here, is nothing else, is nothing, again, nothing out of the ordinary, because we have different churches just like a couple of meters from this church that have actual Koine language written, text in Koine language and script written in bricks as well as here, right? And I'm not arbitrarily choosing these portions here. If you can see, everything else is kind of like in pattern, right? Everything is in pattern, but not these guys here. So let's see what this actually says. Now, before that, I want to show you a video that I took when I was in Ohrid a couple of years ago that actually show Koine on church walls. Okay, so bear with me 1 second here. You can see the Koine right here. See? Hold on. Sorry about that. Let me get that sound out of the way. Okay. So here you got Koine language here with the Koine script, right? So it's nothing out of the ordinary, guys. I know the initial reaction would be, which is natural. I got that reaction too until I went there. I saw it for myself. Like, this is a fantasy. Now you're arbitrarily choosing these things. But let's move on. So let's continue. I want to also show you the video that I took there, not just a picture. Here we go. So there they are right here. This is me recording this video, and there is zoomed out here. And I'm going to show it to you in kind of like this format. There it is. So here's what we have here. This is a scaffold that you can't see really, this sign here, the first eye. This is a scaffold. So there were some kind of maintenance work that was done there. And some of it was a little bit damaged, but thankfully, I think Sasha Endrovsky and Goran, or maybe just Sasha or whoever, somebody just took, or maybe even the academics, I don't remember, but they took this picture before the actual work was done. So whenever we see it here, it could mean that some of it is gone, but I guess not. Everything is here. So let's kind of figure out what it actually says, and this will be actually fun. Now remember, the devotion of the church is Virgin Mary, or what we modern Macedonians will say Deva Maria. Okay, Virgin is Deva, or Devica, something like that. So here we have three vertical signs, which is Bog, right? Bogo, which is God. And then we have a single sign here, I, which is prime, or one. So the prime God. And there we have, on top of de here is a. So on top of de a is vo, which means this is like a definite form. On this Virgin, na dea vo. Now in ancient, this is medieval times. In ancient Macedonian times, like in antiquity, in classical era, we would actually, the etymology would mean different here. But this is a single word, deavo, devava, which would say today, not deava, not devitsava. But in ancient Macedonian, it would be on the prime goddess, on this prime goddess, dea, which means in feminine. De is deity. A after it is in feminine, and most of the time it's the prime feminine, like Shemolna, what we had in earlier videos, if you remember, for the high priestess. And then the article vo, which was va or ova, or this one. But we're not in the antiquities, we're not in the classical age right now. We are in actual medieval times right now. Okay, now the prime god of this virgin, Bogoprv na deavo. And here is what we have. On top of she is I. On top of I, okay, so here's what we have here. Na nashe iya sho. Na nashe iya sho. And here are the signs, the actual signs here. You can recognize them. Although they're bricks, it's kind of tough to kind of do the curvatures, right? Of course. But they did something like this is she, ia, sho. And this is a. Na, she, ia, sho. So here are the signs, right? So we got sho, I, I'm sorry, she, I, na, she, I, a, sho. Right here. And then we continue with these guys right here. Ia, this is land, ia. And here's actually what it says. It says, na ia se po. On top of ia is se po, which would mean na ia, which means of the best land, every city. So po from pole or polis, we have like a city or town or field actually in Macedonian. So here's what we have. We have the prime god of this virgin of our land, Sho, which means what is, Shoe, we would say in modern Macedonian, Shonaia Sepo, that is on the best land, every city. So the prime god of this virgin of our land, that is of every other city of our best land. That's so awesome, guys. And it's there, it's right there on the church wall that's actually centuries old. I believe it's 13th century or something like that. Don't get too hung up on that, but here we have it. And it's wonderful. Here we have the 3 vertical signs and then another sign for I, and then here's the inclination for the D, for the de, right? The syllable de. This is actually a one symbol. It's a different category of symbol. It's not like these ones that rotate, that you can find them rotated, and so you attach a certain vowel per their position. These guys are kind of flipping up left and right. Well, actually this inclination changes, but it's really close to what we have as consonant D, the symbol for a consonant for the letter D today. And so this is de on top of a, na dea vo, of this virgin. Na nashe ia sho, na ia sepo. The prime god of our virgin, of this virgin, of our land, that is of all the cities of our land. Gotcha. All right, now let's continue. So if they can claim that there are centuries of passing, and still they can see the old Egyptian hieroglyphs and language with the new kingdom period, that means that somebody knew it and was just replicating it. They knew the language. That would mean they knew the language. They wouldn't just kind of replicate the symbols without knowing what they're replicating, right? So there was somebody that knew that old Egyptian kingdom language and hieroglyphs in the new kingdom, and they're like centuries after. It's not like a couple of decades after. You know what I mean? And here we have the same thing, the same in principle. We have centuries later, really a lot centuries later, but still we have in Macedonia today, within context, that this is a church devotion to Virgin Mary, and within context we have this ancient Macedonian script and language that says that pretty much says the same devotion. This is devoted to the God of this virgin, that's the God of our land, of all of our beautiful cities. You know, there's no two-way about it. So that's what we have. Now I would like to continue and kind of give you guys different thing to touch on. So the next thing that the Oriental Institute says is that hieroglyphs, the symbols, would be transliterated into Latin equivalent of the sound of those characters. Oh boy, we have a really interesting claim for you guys. Now, if they can do that and be legitimate, surely if we find the same thing, should be legitimate as well, right? So, just before I go there to give you guys the examples, I want to say something that there's some Hellenic words. Well, let me back up. Herodotus himself says that the Hellenes, when they came on the Balkans, they actually adopted some of the names of the Pelasgo-Macedonians that are the natives of that land. And they adopted their names for their gods. I think personally, not for the gods only, but for other things as well. For example, we have a word like Achilles or Achilles. That would literally be transliterated in Macedonian, ancient Macedonian, as Ahil. And today we say it not Achilles, but we say it Ahil. And without the without the ch, we say it Ahil. Now, il in middle text of Rosetta Stone always throughout is has the context of sunlight. Sunlight, not the sun itself. Ze is the sun itself, but sunlight is il. Now, when you read it as il it means that it's a feminine. Even today, the same word for light, sunlight, svetlina, we have it in a feminine gender. And so here we have the meaning of Achilles is actually il, which would mean sunlight, which is in feminine. So we see that through the modern Macedonian grammatical rules throughout the texts that are read in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone, but also in external sources as well. Furthermore, we have the name of Poseidon. Poseidon, we say it Poseidon. Now, somebody to posee, which means somebody to sow something, to spread out. And it's pretty obvious that Poseidon is the Deon, or that god, which is, but the prefix is Poseidon, the one that is the god that is spread out. And we know that the seas are vast, and so he's spread out on the seas. So that's pretty much the explanation behind that, and it makes perfect sense within context. Now, also we have a word that the mainstream called diadochi. Now, diadochi, if you read it fast enough, you would end up with diadoi. Diadoi, in ancient Macedonian etymology, would mean dia. Throughout the text is always a warrior. Ja, iroja, the warrior soldier. The heroic warrior, iroja. So diadoi, it is in plural. Well, let me say something. Well, let me say what the diadoi or diadoi means. Those were the successors of Alexander after he died, right? So diadoi, it's as well within context, where we have ja, warrior, do, which will mean created downwards from the heavens. They are earthly created, like some kind, like some sort of like a semi-deity guys, so like demigods. So we have warriors created warriors, but with kind of like a divine sprinkling there in the language itself. You know what I mean? So that they have the right to rule. And at the very end, we have the suffix I, right, which is the same as it is in a modern Macedonian language that determines the plural of that word. So we have diadochi or diadoi, which means the warrior demigods, if you will. Same goes with the word deacon. In modern Macedonian, we, believe it or not, we still say diakon. Now, ja is warrior, on, that warrior. Now, throughout the New Testament, we are, as Christians, depicted that we are warriors for Christ, in the sense that we war with the evil forces, not like in a conventional sense. So again, it makes perfect sense. Again, we have Odysseus, Odyssey, we call it Odyssey. Odi means walking, sei, which means sowing. He was pretty much sowing himself throughout the Mediterranean within his 10-year voyages that he made. Odysseus did. right? Again, the same intelligible meaning when broken down in Macedonian etymology. I'm not saying they were Greek or not. That's a discussion for another video. All I'm saying is that maybe the names are there that are just transliterated from Macedonian by the Hellenes, okay? Which was the case in the Egyptian times when they, in modern, relatively modern times in Egypt, where they were under Latin rule, and they what they did was their hieroglyphic text transliterated them in Latin script. So here's what we have here. The Hellenes translated them the Pelasgo-Macedonian words in their kind of language, but it's the same language as the Pelasgo-Macedonians, the way they heard it. That's where we got diakon, but we have diakon. I don't believe that Greeks have j, the letter j. Excuse me. And so let's move forward. We have Ithaca, right? Ithaca, the place where Odysseus was born and lived and was a king of. And Ithaca means Ithaca, which means far away, even in modern Macedonian. And Ithaca is at the very fringes of Greece proper, right? What we know as Greece proper. Also, we have Ematia, which is mother. But then we have a little bit further north, Dalmatia, which is Dalechna Matia, for far mother, right? I think I've mentioned also Zeus, that if broken down it's Zeus, but then we have Ze as the Macedonian sun god, right? So on and so forth. Hercules or Heracles, we have Irakle and things like that. Vasileos, oh boy, Vasileos would mean Vasil, which would mean in Vasila, which means in power, but like in empire in Latin. But to break this down even more etymologically would mean with the sunlight. Vasila, right? Illa, illa, and other words. But also we have a couple of examples where ancient Macedonian text was transliterated in Koine script. And I believe this example that I'm going to show you is, I want to say from 4th or between the 4th and 6th century BC. Okay? It's in Koine, but it's in Macedonian. That is intelligible even today. That is also within the context of whatever is depicted there. Okay? Now, I want to say something before we go there. The Macedonians, at least the Pelasgians, the ones that were kind of dealing with developing scripts and languages, and they were playing with the languages. Same thing as what the Oriental Institute says, how the Egyptians were playing with their language, so that they can invent different ways of writing their language. Okay, so the same way the Pelasgo-Macedonians did the same thing, and they were considered kind of like the programmers of their age. That's all I'm going to say. Now, here's what we have. This example here is a beautiful example of what I just mentioned, that just as the Egyptians transliterated their language and texts in Latin script, same here, our Macedonian language was transliterated in Koine script. Now, what we have here we have a dressed man accompanied with some naked fellas here, and one of them is, just jumping and just so active, right? And also looks like he's singing, he's praising something. Now let's see what we have here. Let me zoom this for you. Okay, so we have G. This is also in modern Macedonian similar, G, and it's facing this way towards where it's going to be read. So we read it from here. So we have Go, this is L, Golutvrgom, Gol, Golugaf, which means nakedish, and these guys are naked, Golutvrgom, Gurejam, Gorejam, goram, which means I'm sweating, I'm hot. Groho, grohotno, which means I'm jumping, I'm active very much. Revuom, rovaram in modern Macedonian, which means I'm spinning, I'm jumping again. Elevated, grohotno, means elevated, groho. Revuom, so which means golutvergom, gurejam, groho revuom, which means naked-ish, I'm hot, I'm sweating, elevated, I'm spinning, I'm jumping. What is this guy doing? Precisely that, right? He's naked, he's jumping, spinning, possibly sweating. I don't know, haven't tested it. But let's say for the sake of it, he is sweating again. Now, what about this here? What is this? Well, if you start from here, because here wouldn't make any sense, but here we get the meaning. And here it says, and then again here is L, and here we have L. So we're following the same rules. Aglosso, and this is not an M here because it follows the flow. Here, it follows the flow as with the A, with the G, but it looks like an M, not an S. I'm going to come back to that later. But here, what we have is here, aglosso, aglasov, which means in my sound, evdo tua moiv, edo tuka moyov, is up to here mine, or my voice is up to here. Right? So I think these guys also hear this guy. Now, because this is coming from here, it is also possible that these guys in the back are singing, because this flow goes from here, but this goes from here, right? So, to summarize what we're saying here, naked-ish, I'm sweating, elevated, I'm spinning, I'm jumping, but my voice is up to here, which means that we are singing only and they can hear us. Oh boy. Oh boy. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't have any meaning in the Greek language. On the contrary, I am saying that it has also a meaning in the Greek language. What is awesome here, guys, is that we have ancient programmers that found a way to write something that will have a meaning in a dual meaning. Well, not a dual meaning. I don't know what it means in Greek, but it has an intelligible meaning in a couple of languages. That's awesome. And so, hence, I believe that's why they had to make some exceptions. For example, gurezam is actually gurejam, but it's close to the sound, right? So that we can represent it here with, and the Koine script doesn't have the letters for je. And so they would have to make some exceptions there. Man, this is awesome, guys. This is awesome. You see? All right, but I have another one for you. The same thing. Don't hate me, but I'm just saying, look, we have Cleopatra here sitting, and some other, maybe a priest or I don't know, whatever that is. But here we have a text that's also written that in order to be intelligible in a couple of languages, in Greek and in Macedonian. And here's what we have. Now, before I start reading, I want to tell you something that within our text of the ancient Macedonian, in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone, we have Cleopatra mentioned as the most beautiful one, right? And we want to get into that as we go through the text and kind of decipher stuff from it. But we have the same thing here, and it says "I perva" or "prva" first, "silichish." Silichis, tis or chish. They don't have ch, they don't have sh, so they would have to compromise. Iperva silichis, and you're foremost of resemblance, or you're the most beautiful one. Cleopatra soe, that's known as Cleopatra. Az philopatorto, yas, as yas. Even Bulgarians today and Russians, I believe, they use as instead of yas. So as philopatorto, yas philopatorot, or me, the philopator. The articles here are the same gospodarto that we find in and over in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone as ancient Macedonian. So the foremost in resemblance, the one known as Cleopatra, me, the Philopator, Bojan ona Itia, or Bojan ona Itia. Bojan, if you follow my channel so far, you would have noticed this word, because over and over again in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone we have the word Bojan or Nai Bojan, which would mean the most divine, but in this case is divine. Bojan ona Itia kes synodov on synagogos. And that would mean Bojana ona inatie synovina synagogite, which would mean in English, she is divine to those that are sons, synodov, the sons of the synagogues. Now this would mean that she is also divine of the Hebrews, I guess. I don't want to say of the Danaians, but it wouldn't be far-fetched if we go by the theory that the Danaians, or at least the ruling class of the Danaians, were kind of like a Samaritan type of ethnicity, which would be connected with the Jewish identity. And for that, I have a video that I believe I made yesterday. I'll try to remember to put that in the description as well. But there you go, there you have it. And I'm not saying that this is not intelligible in the Greek language, but it is also intelligible in the Macedonian language, as you just witnessed. And you are first most in resemblance, the one known as Cleopatra, me the Philopator, divine is she of those that are sons of the synagogues. All right, there's that, guys. I'm going to continue, and what I have for you now is the next claim of the what you call the Oriental Institute is that, trust me, we have something that's even more interesting. They said that hieroglyphs were written to be read sometimes from right to left in horizontal, sometimes from left to right in horizontal, sometimes imagine from left to right vertical, and then right to left vertical. And within one string of a paragraph, you can start reading from the left and then stop in the middle of the paragraph and then continue reading from the right to left. So they were playing with their texts because they wanted to keep secrets. And what better way? That's what I'm saying. They were kind of like the programmers of the antiquity, of the old ages. How else you can do that if you just switch rules and like that, right? But hey, per the Oriental Institute, this is valid. So, the Egyptologists discovered that that by identifying where the hieroglyphs were facing as a general rule, but not always from there, you can start reading. Okay, fair enough. Just as we saw that G or G letter, right? It was facing towards the flow of reading. Hence, we decided from where to read. Okay, so far so good. But in other cases, Egyptologists read them interchangeably, as I just mentioned. And they do that by identifying the meaning of the signs. In other words, there were different numbers of columns in hieroglyphs facing in different directions. Hence, the Egyptologists didn't know from which end to start reading, right? So you have a couple of columns and then several more columns, but they are all within one body of text. But in these columns, the what you call the hieroglyphs were facing this way, or at least the pictures that we can identify where they were facing this way. And from these columns, the hieroglyphs were facing the other way, the opposite way. But you wouldn't know from, you can start reading from here or from here. So you wouldn't know from where exactly you need to start reading. But they discovered the direction of reading by first identifying the symbols into sounds and reading them in each direction. so that if there was a meaning within a certain context, that would have indicated that the ancient Egyptians did write in that particular direction. An example of this, and I'll show you the link so you can find this example, is when they found the reference of the woman on a stone stele beginning in Osiris and continue with epithets of the lady on the stele, right? The principle here is that if the words wired for sounds gave meaning within a given context, like the lady on the stone stele in a certain socio-religious context that was depicted on the stone, then those sounds for those symbols were correct, and that place was deemed as the right place to start reading from. The same principle was used by our academics. They first identified signs, then read them, and meaning was illuminated, confirming the correct direction of sounds for a symbol under test. Hence, we've discovered the sounds and direction of writing of our ancient Macedonian, which is from right to left. Now, per this Oriental Institute's presentation that I'm going to link down in the description, they also claim that ancient Egyptian wrote in a crossword puzzle style. So you have a body of text like in a square, and you have different symbols, and you can read them diagonally, vertically, horizontally, in every direction. That's how playful the Egyptians were, you know? Well, we also found a seal in Macedonia, imagine, in Republic of Macedonia, with ancient Macedonian script that has all directions. And it wasn't me that deciphered this, and I don't know, I don't have the time right now to go into what all this text mean, but we can go into these. But here we have, again, a seal, that's actually, you can read it, and it was read horizontally, vertically, I believe also diagonally. So it's not an exception in our case as well to claim this. Okay? If it's valid for the Egyptians per the Oriental Institute, you should be honest to yourself and say, if we have meaning when we read this, it's also valid for us. Okay, now let's focus on these coins here, which is one coin with both sides. This is an interesting coin. By the way, this seal and this coin, they were both found in Republic of Macedonia, and they were both presented in the museum in Skopje, Republic of Macedonia. I'm not sure if they're still there, but I know for certain that they were there. I've seen them in the museum in Skopje in Republic of Macedonia. But let's kind of crack this code and see what this means. So here's what we have. This looks mighty like something that would be... Here's what we have here. So let's start from the left coin. So the left coin here, we have something that's U. So here we have, and it's really hard to see, guys, so I'm going to do my best. So we have U, and this is identified in whenever the Macedonian academics were categorizing the sounds, and I'm going to show it to you. Come on. There we go. So there's U, right? There's U right here. So we have U here and we have U here. And here looks something like this sign, right? Well, when you read it this way, it would be like this sign. Bo, which means bo, which is B, attaches a vowel long O, it would read bo. And this will be ubo, right? Ubo, and then next we have something that's like this, like an L. But this will be, let me see if I have it here. If not, I have it here. Right. So if it's like an L, right? But if this is the surface that we're writing on, this will mean like a literal L. It will look like a literal L, but it will be carrying a consonant P and attaching a vowel A, which is pa. Ubo pa. And what we have next is, covering my face here. I don't know how that happened. But what we have next is ubo pa so ze I. So this is so, right? Let's see if it is so. So, this is S, and it should be like this, like vertical. So this is, and we will attach the vowel O. So this is so. Ubo pa so. This is again ze or sun, and then prime. This would mean actually, here's what we have. So we have ubo pa so ze parf, which would mean ubo, which would mean ubavo, or beautiful. Ubo pa, up. So, which is again the same with modern Macedonian, which is with prime sun. It's beautiful up with the prime sun god. Right? That's what it means. It's beautiful up with the prime sun god. Now, if you continue reading, we will have again ze I ze go. This is go. It's kind of like T to the side. So ze would mean sun, one prime, and then again sun go, zego, or this is a verb, zego, which means shines on, right? Illuminates. The prime sun god illuminates. And here we have the Macedonian sun. For somebody that will say that this is like a Greek coin or an Akkadian coin, well, it has the Macedonian sun and the lion, right? And this is actually Amon, or what Macedonians say, Ve, the god Ve, or Baal. And also Baal is depicted sitting like this in the Middle East, but also it is Zeus. So it's kind of like interchangeably used. There you have it. Now what we've read so far is a inscription in the ancient Macedonian language on a church wall, right? We've read a transliterated ancient Macedonian within the Koine, which is like, I believe, 6th century BC. And again, a little bit further up the time scale, which is, I believe this is somewhere around 1st century BC or something. Also transliterated text from in ancient Macedonian with Koine letters. And then again, we're reading something that's external compared to the middle text of the Rosetta Stone, and we're able to read it within context, right? This is the sun god, and here we have the sun. It's kind of devotion, like it's saying it's beautiful up with the sun god, or where the sun is in the heavenlies, in heaven. And also we have the same context, same principle of reading, like same experimentation and playing with the script and the language that the Egyptian did. Here we have it present with the Macedonians as well. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. If you're not amused so far, enter a possible monogram that is found in a form of a geoglyph. And this is a famous geoglyph that is, I believe, Sasha Androvsky found it by playing with Google Earth. Later on was popularized by, oh boy, what's his name? Nikola Popovsky? No, I don't know. A guy that's from Sveti Nikole, from Saint Nikole in Macedonia. He also popularized it, but I believe Sasha Androvsky is the one that found it. And this monogram, or if it's not a monogram, it is definitely written in the ancient Macedonian script, the very same script that's found in the middle text of the Rosetta Stone. Now, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is we have something that's looks like a E, and then something that's on top of it that looks like K, and then something that looks like from the Macedonian language, that is V. Not ve, not vo, not va, but v, with an at the end. Okay, so That being said, I want to actually walk you through what it actually says, and this will blow your mind. Here's what we have. Yep, so let me zoom out. I'm technologically challenged. So here's what we have. This is another picture of the geoglyph, and I've kind of like rotated it, and it revealed a meaning that it says. Here's what we have. We have I, and we have the symbol for ke, and then v. And so what it read is, in ancient Macedonian, naikev, the most or the best blood. So I would assume that some noble family may be buried here. Please protect this place. Don't let just scavengers and steal and thieves go there and just do their thing, okay? Please protect this place. Now, Kev, I'm linking it with blood because we found that in the ancient Macedonian text whenever it was, and we will get to that point, but there is a portion in that ancient Macedonian text where it says that the pharaoh is the blood of the mother, the great mother, Yekev Mo. That's exactly how it says. I believe it says Nainadzi Mensa Yekev Mo, or Detsa Mo Yekev Mo. Actually, that would mean the children of the great mother are the blood of the great mother, which means that they are one ethnicity, so to speak. All right, and so there you go. Here we have it here as well, Kev. But here it says Naikev, which means that's the superlative Naikev, which means the best, the most best, beautiful blood or whatever. Just saying that probably some noble person is buried here. So, boy, I'm actually in the works of a video that will actually compare the principles of the Oriental Institute that presents concerning the Egyptologists and how they decipher stuff and the rules that they discover. And I'm going to parallel that with our reading, the Macedonian reading, and the Macedonian decipherment, so that you would not think that we're inventing things here. I'm confident that the academics did their due diligence and they try to be as objective as possible. So it will result with great fruit, that research. And also I want to shout out to Boyan Orion. That guy, man, is awesome. He's helping me too. He actually reached out to the Oriental Institute and they gave him some text from their findings, I believe, for the method that they're using of how they deciphered the Ptolemaic type of demotic, which is that's what we want to focus on. We don't want to focus on different demotic. Don't just go there. It's a different, that could very much be in the Egyptian language, but we want to focus on the stones of Canopus, the whatever stone we can get on our hands on, whatever text we can get our hands on that are from the Ptolemaic era, so that we can, or maybe even the Macedonistic era throughout the Middle East. But let's first pinpoint our focus with the Ptolemaic texts, because we know for sure now, given that the decipherment of the middle text of the Rosetta Stone as ancient Macedonian language is objective, that can kind of help us gain results faster. And so I don't know what to tell you. If you're not satisfied with us reading different external texts with the same method that was established by the two Macedonian academics, I can't really help you with that. I think at that point you have established views that you work around those views instead of just as I said in the beginning, open your heart and just kind of like see what's here. I mean, you can accept it or not, that's your choice, but try to be as objective as possible whenever you're doing that, okay? And again, I came into this as a big time skeptic. I was kind of angry why these guys did this, because I thought it will kind of damage us all, in a sense where these guys are academics and they're playing with this and they're actually claiming this, but that's a big thing, you know? And I didn't think that they got so detailed like they did before I started reading their work. After I read their work and kind of did my own research, man, I realized these guys were not a joke. I mean, one of them was, and I'm saying was because both of them passed away, unfortunately, but one of them was a nuclear scientist, or at least a scientist in nuclear science, an academic in nuclear science, and the other one was, I think, a professor for, I want to say, defense of computer systems. So they were both engineers. They were not a joke. Hence a scientific work that they presented. Again, I'm doing this not to increase the big void that people have in the Balkans. On the contrary, I'm doing this so that I can bring all the people together, just to realize, man, we were there from the beginning. Like, it's just that we were one in the beginning. It's just that every kind of nation nowadays took their own path because of historical incidents. You got the Romans coming in, you got the different Slavic tribes coming in doing their own thing. And so kind of like different groups took their own path. But we're still, majority of us, we're still the people that were from the beginning there. I mean, most of us have the maternal DNA haplogroup, which is I, right? And that's kind of like the native one of the Balkan. But let's not go that deep. We don't have to go that deep. That's nonsense. All I want to say is, let's find something that will bring us closer together. Enough is enough, guys. I mean, it's ridiculous. Leave the old generation behind and their type of thinking. Let's create something new here. Let's bring ourselves closer. Let's research together. And I'm sure we'll find more things that will connect us than to divide us. That's all I'm saying. And with that said, I want to thank you for sticking around till the end. If you want to support me, you can do it in a couple of ways. You can like this video, subscribe, share it, or you can go in the store and just grab one of these mugs that says Deca Mo, which means Deca na Modea, which means children of the Great Mother, or just one of these shirts. If you like these shirts, Prime Manliness, Mojojl na Prv. You can also grab that shirt from the store. And a surprise is coming. I'm planning to organize a, well, I'll keep it a surprise, okay? All right. Thanks, guys, again, and I'll see you in the next video.